One of the most painful chapters in our history was Vietnam. Most particularly how we treated our troops who served there. You are often blamed for a war you didn't start, when you should have been commended for serving your country with valor. When you came home, I know many of you put your medals away, tucked them in a drawer or in a box in the closet. You went on with your lives, started families, and pursued careers. A lot of you didn't talk too much about your service. This is what this 50th anniversary is all about.
We fought communism in Vietnam. That's what we did. We went there, and in my heart, I was fighting communism and fighting for my country.
We were making a sincere effort against a really horrendous opponent. The communist system destroyed lives throughout the world, and it did so in Vietnam.
And people ask, what was it like to be in Vietnam? What was it like to be in the war? Experience is different for everyone.
During the Tet Offensive of 1968, I was a platoon leader in Tuiwa, which is on the coast. And during there was an air base there that got overrun, and we were responsible for retaking the air base, which we did. And in the midst of that, I was shot with a mortar round and went off during the engagement and severed my spine. That left me paralyzed, paraplegic.
I left going to Vietnam at 18. I came back at 19, and I had a totally different frame of mind. I wasn't the same person.
We were engaged in a firefight, and then after the firefight, we kept walking on a rice paddy, which is where they grow the rice, which is nothing but water and mud. And then as we were coming out, one of our appointment set off what is called a booby trap. Shrapnel from the 81 millimeter round hit me in the chest and in my leg. Fortunately, I was wearing a flak vest, which is like a protector, and it knocked me off my feet, but it did not penetrate, otherwise it would have gone into my chest, my heart, and could have killed me.
I had a small heart attack, I had high blood pressure, depression. I mean, I had dreams of, of what I went through. Very bad.
You didn't want to go to sleep in Vietnam. That's the thing that everybody was scared of, being killed in their sleep.
My wounds are visible, and a lot of people's wounds are not visible, and those are the people I would hope the community would think about, because it is still is a thing that weighs heavily on a lot of people.
I served in Vietnam in 1968 and 69 in Phu Bai, Quang Tri, Dong Ha areas. Matter of fact, I worked from Da Nang to the DMZ. I was a combat engineer, so constructed bridges all over Vietnam, the northern part of it.
I served with 56 FMS Field Maintenance Squadron in Vietnam, I was two things. I was an aerospace ground equipment repairman, and I also was an age controller.
My name is Albert Ibanez, and originally from Louisiana, Shreveport, Louisiana. After 1 year of college, I went into the Navy. I served 2 years, 4 months, and 20 days in the Navy. I would send the messages to the destroyers, and they would get it, and they would get longitude, latitude, and position where the Army or Marines were in trouble, and they start firing. And that was my main mission right there. Also, my mission on the PBR was to search all the coast from Saigon River all the way up, and we got a lot of fire.
My name is Roberto Molleda. I was with the Charlie Company, 2nd Battalion, 3rd Infantry Regiment, 199th Light Infantry Brigade in Vietnam. I wasn't even an American citizen when I went to Vietnam. I was still a Cuban national, but of course I was a permanent resident. To me, it was a way of saying thank you to my adopted country for allowing me the opportunities to live in a free nation, the best country in the world. Had I stayed in the country that I was born in, I don't think I would have had the opportunities of the freedom that I had when I came to this country. And you get that have a sense of patriotism, and you have the sense of call to duty.
We were hit a few times. I see some of the guys got injured very badly. And we just learned to adjust yourself to the situation. And you start counting your days backwards. From 365 days, you got to start counting backwards until you are 1 or 2 days left before you can catch a plane.
You're fighting to stay alive. You're fighting to keep your people alive, healthy, unharmed.
I was wounded on this hill and left it so quickly and was unconscious and unable to see for many months, a year and a half in the hospital, that I kept thinking I did something wrong and I need to figure out how to get off that hill the right way. I've always had guilt feelings about leaving the troops that way. And I know that I've read that that's common among soldiers, that they relate to the other people in the unit. I felt like I was abandoning them, and for the longest time I've tried to figure out what I did wrong. Why would I be wounded that day? And of course, analytically, it's a question of opportunity sometimes, not something you did wrong, but I keep trying to figure out what I did wrong and what I should do to get off that hill.
The smell of war has always been with me. That's the one thing that I remember. And we all have our war stories, and we've all been shot at. We've all been under circumstances where we've had rockets and mortars come at us, and been in convoys, and been under fire, and been in a helicopter, and been under fire, and seen friends killed. But that's war.
I served in Vietnam from February 1, 1968 until February 7, 1969. I came to this country in October 1965. I was born in Ecuador, in Guayaquil, Ecuador. I was born after World War II, and seeing all these movies about World War II, and seeing movies like Audie Murphy, and I always wanted to be in the military here in the United States.
I served in the United States Army Infantry, 9th Infantry Division in Vietnam. I served with a lot of people, very brave, that I'm very proud of. And that's probably one of the reasons that I'm here today, is I was surrounded by good people.
I was with the 173rd Airborne Brigade. I was stationed I moved around in Vietnam, but my main base was in Dak To. I went to do a job that my country sent me to do. So I did what I thought was right at that time.
I served in the U.S. Army as a second lieutenant and then I spent from 1970 to 1972 in Vietnam with the CIA. We had the responsibility of the CIA to advise the PRU, Provincial Reconnaissance Unit, around the Saigon area to stop the terrorist group of the Viet Cong in the area.
I was a first lieutenant reconnaissance platoon leader in the northern part of Vietnam, I Corps, facing the demilitarized zone in the North Vietnamese, places near Quai Son, the famous Marine Corps base, and so forth.
I served with a communications division in Vietnam called 1st Signal Battalion out of I Corps, which was in the northern part of southern Vietnam. And I traveled pretty extensively throughout the country, but mostly between Da Nang and the DMZ, which is called Dang Ha.
You really never leave the war. It's always there. And I finally decided that maybe 20 years, 25 years into it, that I'm really not going to get off that hill. That maybe I don't need to get off that hill. Maybe I don't even want to get off that hill because it's part of me.
There was a lot of turmoil back in the United States, and we were prepared to expect a negative reception, which is what took place.
A lot of Vietnam veterans came home to a place where they were not welcome. They were humiliated.
When I came home, it was actually just as worse as being in Vietnam. It was a war all over again, you know, with nobody seemed to care anything about what you just did or where you came from. It was pretty rough.
I didn't have a welcome when I came home from Vietnam. I got dog doo-doo and rotten eggs and called out my name when I came home. Even from my own race in Liberty City, they told me I was a fool for going to fight the white man's war. And I was just proud to be home because I was, you know, that's the only thing I wanted. Even though they said we lost the war, but I never lost a battle. When I was over there, that's why I made it back home.
You was afraid to say that you had served in Vietnam because of the backlash that came behind it, that what people said and thought.
It really affected me, especially when we came home. People were so hateful to us. They didn't want us to talk, and if we said, I'm from, I just got back from Vietnam, you know, they would say, just like that. And they would kind of, like we had a plague, and they would move away from us. And I mean, I had a hard time.
It was very frightening, sad, and that what I went to do, it wasn't appreciated. So I didn't really understand it at that time.
I'm sitting right here telling you, but when we came out, we couldn't say nothing, not a word of that. We had to endure that. We had to have that inside of us because they wouldn't, you know, I'm sorry. It's just, I'm getting nervous now.
The stories that many veterans went through, that you hear now, are for those that are still suffering. I think that suffering is far worse, in my mind, than combat.
I felt like I was thrown away, like no one cared anything about what happened to us or what we did, and it put me in a frame of mind wherein I was actually ashamed of being in Vietnam.
I realized that I was coming to another war. But this war was more difficult because I couldn't see the enemy. And the enemy was my own people, my country. They called me all kinds of names at the airport. I felt bad.
It was very hard to see the reception that a lot of those people received when they came back, that they did not deserve. And it's important to realize that that war is the same like any other war, and the people who went there went to defend this country, ordered by this country. We were proud to do so.
Well, I came home unable to see And the first thing I heard on a television was that I was in the army of Genghis Khan and that we were baby killers and so forth. That was distressing, of course, but I felt the worst for the younger troops who were coming home. I thought I could deal with that phony baloney kind of claim, but I don't think all of them at a younger age could as easily disregard those comments.
I'd see on TV the protests that were going on against what I had been doing in Vietnam. And you have mixed feelings when that occurs. Was I doing the right thing? Are these people right? What is the correct feeling for this? So it was something that you had to deal with on a personal level.
It's not just that somebody disagrees with the war, because political disagreement is acceptable. It's claiming that the soldiers themselves are constantly behaving wrong, and that and those accusations are made strictly for personal political gain of the individual saying it. That's what's disheartening.
It was just that time where there was so much protesting that a lot of people, you know, it got into their minds and they didn't want to have anything to do with this. Nothing. We felt so lonesome. We felt like, hey, we don't have a country. Although we were fighting for the country, and we were very proud when we came back.
There was no parade. There was no thank you for your service. There was nothing. It was just hate. So you have to hide yourself. Like they make you feel ashamed for your service.
Today, we're bringing closure to that open wound that they had internally, that they never got that thank you, they never got that hug, they were treated as the worst in this community, called all kinds of names, and enough is enough. It took almost 50 years to do this. It's very sad to say, but I wasn't going to let one more year go without doing this.
This is something we have waited for so long, you know. I'm elated, and I don't want to get sentimental, but you know, it's something, it's inside of us. If you can see, everyone is happy here.
I'm just so happy. I'm happy that finally we can be recognized. It's thrilled. I went through a lot of stuff.
Cuando llegamos aquí nadie nos reconocía. Y ahora al cabo de 50 años lo están haciendo. Más vale tarde que nunca.
It makes me feel very proud to be an American. People don't forget.
Feels wonderful. But we're doing it for not only for ourselves, but for all those people that didn't want to come today.
There's plenty of them.
Because of the way they were treated years ago.
Right. We're here to stand with those guys. That's what we're doing here.
And we want to thank the county very much for this. Thank you.
A parade like this, it really brings a lot of closure to a lot of Vietnam veterans that they never received a warm welcome from our own citizens.
Oh, love it, love it. I mean, we have never had anything like this.
It's very emotional. I think it's something that is way, way overdue.
I don't feel ashamed. I'm proud now because we have gotten a little recognition.
It's a real honor to be honored by somebody, finally.
I thank them from the bottom of my heart because without them, we wouldn't be here. You know, they sacrificed a lot, and I just hope I can do half what they've done.
It's an honor to follow in their footsteps.
I want to show my support for the men that did what this country needed to do.
I was here 20 years ago with my mom for the Gulf War veterans, and unfortunately my mom has been deceased now for 20 years. But I thought that she would want me to be here, so I came to support the veterans and, you know, to give the Vietnam veterans that came back home the parade that they deserved a long time ago.
think it's wonderful to give tribute, and most of all, to have a day of peace for them and appreciation.
I'm here to support my soldiers. Yay!
Hoorah! Hoorah! America rocks!
Ooh, that's what I'm talking about.
I just would like to thank everybody that's involved at all the levels of this to, again, hopefully put a final closure on something that was life-changing for me, life-changing for many of my friends, and life-changing for our society.
This parade and these things are wonderful, they're nice. I don't expect it. There's nothing that I've done special to earn this. I just serve my country.
I am glad to be an American soldier, and I serve my country well, and I'm so proud that somebody is looking out for us, that, you know, and I hope the people realize that we are human and soldiers, and we just did our job to protect this country the best that we could.
Expect nothing and give all.
I'm very proud of my service, and if I have to do it again, I'll be more than happy to do it again, without any hesitation.
I'd like the community to know that I went there for them. I went there for the government. I felt like I needed to do that. It's just something that I felt I had to do.
I served my country with honor, and I'm glad that I did, because it's one of the best decisions that a young black man could have made at that time.
The freedoms, the advantages that we have in our country, and I'm very proud that I'm an American.
I was lucky to come back alive, and a lot of people that I know didn't.
I did what I thought it was right. I defended the principles of this country for freedom and democracy, and we all did, and we are very proud of that.
Vietnam will never be forgotten. You know, Vietnam is something that I'll carry to my grave, because I'm down.